Good morning. Welcome to the Higher View. I'm Dr. Laura Shackelford, and I'm going to start a little doing something different. I'm going to be doing a book study. I love doing book studies, and I do book studies a little differently. Unfortunately, this week I'm not going to be doing it the way I'd really like to do it, which is to have everybody on screen and participating. But next week there will be a Zoom link. But I want to tell you about my book studies. What I have found is that when we read the book together, somebody's reading it out loud, and then we stop and we discuss what we just read, you really embody it. There's something when you just read it on your own, sometimes your mind wanders, sometimes you don't really get it, or it just doesn't sink in. And when you're in a group and everybody's reading, and then somebody asks a question that, oh, wow, I didn't think about that. And then we discuss it, and everybody discusses it. It's not just me discussing it, it's everybody discussing it. And it's very, very powerful. So I want to talk to you today about the book that we will be reading. And I have no idea how many weeks this will be. It will be until it's finished, and it will give you an opportunity to participate. And this is the book that we will be reading, The Dynamic Laws of Healing by Catherine Ponder. And what I have found, how I found this book and why I came up with this book is because Jeff Harrison, who does all of our media, wanted me to write a bunch of health affirmations. And I thought, okay, and I had some, but I thought, I want more. I want some more really powerful ones. And years ago, I had read Catherine Ponder's book, the Dynamic Laws of Prosperity. And in that book, she had so many powerful affirmations that I literally typed them all up, and I carried them with me, and they were the ones I would say them all the time. And I've shared that's when all of a sudden, unexpectedly, both of my boys got around 12 to 15,000. I can't remember. It's been so long ago. I got like 5 or 7, and my husband got some money from some insurance that we didn't even know about. It's how the universe works, people. And so I remembered those affirmations. So I thought, I'm going to get her book on healing and see what affirmations she has. Well, she didn't really have, like she did in the prosperity book, that many affirmations. But as I started reading it, I go, wow, this is really powerful. This was even a little different than the way I had looked at healing. And so that's what we're going to be discussing. And healing isn't only physical. There's emotional, there's relationship healing. And so I just want to read to you just some little highlights of what we're going to be discussing over the next how many weeks or months. So like chapter 1, it's going to be the truth about healing, the cause of disease, the mind power in every cell. I'm just taking little excerpts from her descriptions of the contents. Number 2, chapter 2 is the no law of healing. That's the one that kind of attracted me. And it says that disease is self-inflicted. Chapter 3 is going to be the surprise law of healing. And in that chapter, secret hate may cause cancer. Negative emotions fasten disease to you. These are things she's going to be talking about and overcoming that. Chapter 4 is going to be the healing law of release, the transforming power of release, how when you release something, how that is so healing. Then chapter 5, we're going to talk about the yes law of healing through written words, a formula for health. Even if you've got good health, we can always have better health, right? And then chapter 6 is the healing law of praise, how praise heals. Aren't these exciting? I mean, I think these are really, really powerful. The healing law of love is chapter 7. Love is a mind power. And then chapter 8 is the miracle law of healing. And then 9 is the occult law of healing. We're going to read about that. And 10 is the imagining law of healing, the imagination's fantastic power, how the imagination heals. I mean, these are really powerful thoughts and are so in alignment with what we believe. And then we're going to talk about chemicalization, a healing process. Right thought produces chemical changes in your body. And then the last chapter, which is really powerful too, is your giving can heal you, withholding how it affects health. Also, how to give for health, and you have to give away. You have to give anyway. So your faith is where your money is. So those are just some of the highlights that we're going to be talking about. So I just want to just touch on the introduction today. I'm not going to read the whole introduction, but just kind of highlight it to give you a feel of what we'll be doing over the next several weeks. So she says that one of the greatest secrets you can learn is that you have healing power. Now, we know that in science of mind, or we learn that, but until we really embrace it and work it, it's just a nice idea, right? So perhaps you have thought of the gift of healing as a special power that belonged only to certain persons, the most spiritually advanced or the most brilliant in the practice of medicine, psychiatry, or chiropractic. Well, for many years, the word healing was associated with superstition and strange practices. And she said that in recent times, we've been hearing much about spiritual healing that results from the revival of various biblical practices, such as prayer, laying on the hands, special church rituals, and healing practices. And we've been hearing much about miracle medications and all the fine scientific advances that are affecting cures. And she says here, to all phases of the healing arts, let us say, bless you and Godspeed, because all healing is faith healing. All healing is divine. Recently, when a patient daringly said to her doctor that she believed she had just had a spiritual healing, he smilingly asked, what other kind is there? So this is really, really a really powerful book. So, and she goes on to say that the dynamic laws of healing, she said the word dynamic has the same root as the word dynamite, that which is powerful, forceful, filled with energy. So what we do know, and what we know in our teaching, is a law is a principle that works. Sir William Blackstone, well-known writer of the law, pointed out more than 200 years ago that a law is settled rule of action. The word law usually suggests a desire for order. People in ill health need just that order in their thinking, emotions, bodies, and lives. And so that's why when we do our affirmative prayer, or our treatments, we say, I release the word as law or to law, because that is a demand that is like set in stone. That is a demand on the universe. And so we all have to have that awareness, really embody that what we say, what we think has power on every cell in our body, has power on the whole universe. And so that's what we're going to be touching on. And she says, when these dynamic laws of healing are invoked, they can just do what the title implies: produce dynamic, forceful changes, which lead to orderly results in mind, body, and affairs. A new state of wholeness can develop. So that was just in her introduction. And so I wanted you to get a feel for that, a feel for the power that you have. And we're going to go on this journey together for the next several weeks for you to really get an understanding and a grasp and a working with this dynamic law that you are using all the time. The challenge we have is, how are we using it? Are we using it to be a detriment in our life? And usually that's unconscious. Or are we consciously using this power that we have to create the life, our health, our relationships, our finances? Even though this is the dynamic laws of healing, there's so much healing within ourselves that we can start being aware of and really tapping into. So I'm going to start with chapter 1, and I'm going to read it, and I'm going to start talking about it and pausing after I read it. So really try to get this book. Not try, but get the book and read along with me, because I'm telling you, it has a triple whammy on that. It's not only are you hearing it, you're seeing it, and then we're going to discuss it. So there's something about this, hearing the sound and seeing it with your eyes and then participating. And so the shocking truth about healing. This is chapter 1. The shocking truth about healing is that you have healing power within you. The word health comes from the Anglo-Saxon word meaning hale, whole, well, and hearty. This should be your condition at all times. If it is not, there is something you can do about it now. Don't we all want to be able to take care of things now? We as humans tend to not be real patient. We want instant gratification, right? All right. So though you are aware of it, your healing power is quietly at work within you at all times, repairing cells, carrying off wastes, nourishing tissues, and healing wounds. That's the subconscious mind too, constantly working. You're not sitting here going heartbeat, ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. That subconscious, that divine intelligence within you is taking care of that. You're not sitting here digesting your food thinking, okay, what chemicals do I have to put in? What do I have to do to digest it? There's that divine intelligence within you and those cells that are constantly just doing that for you. So she goes on, occasionally this healing power reveals itself in some remarkable way. Someone is critically ill, not expected to live. Suddenly, with no explanation, the growth vanishes, the wound heals, or the heart restores itself. This proves that the human body is undoubtedly the most powerful, self-sufficient dynamo in existence for the carrying on of life. This inner power of healing is not an extraordinary one. It is a natural part of your inner world. 24 hours a day, it's supervising all the fantastically complicated operations of your body. In a single cell, the super scientist in you effortlessly performs functions that the world's most accomplished chemists cannot duplicate. Much of this healing power is carried on through the automatic functions of your subconscious mind. Okay, remember that, because that's really, really a powerful thing. Your subconscious mind is doing all of this. Your subconscious mind does a lot in your life. All right. However, you can begin to release this healing power within you in deeper degrees as and when needed through the power of your deliberate, conscious thinking. As you do, the power of your thought moves through both your conscious and subconscious mind activities, putting you on the road to health again. The fact that you have this healing power within you, which you can deliberately release through your thinking, does not mean that you should not avail yourself to usual methods of help. Instead, it means that the ideas set forth in this book can help hasten your complete healing in conjunction with other methods employed. The 16th century German physician, I can never say this, Pericleus, you know who I'm talking about, said, the curative power of medicine often consists not so much in the spirit that is hidden in them as in the spirit in which they are taken. May this book set you in the right spirit. All right. So it's your mindset. It's how you approach your healing. How do you approach it? And you have to have that correct mindset. So she goes on and she wants you to know what the cause of disease is. The reason you have healing power within you, which you can begin to consciously release, is this. The body has a super wisdom within it that is biased towards health rather than toward disease. Okay. This life force in man or woman has been estimated to be at least 10 times more powerful, 10 times more powerful than any form of treatment he may take, though various treatments are helpful in releasing this inner force. Since a body is filled with such amazing restorative powers, why is man ever sick? The shocking truth is that disease is self-inflicted. Ouch. Ouch. Disease is caused by wrong thoughts, opinions, and beliefs moving upon and within the body, constricting the life force. Envy, hate, and fear, when these sentiments are habitual, are capable of starting organic changes in genuine disease, wrote scientist Dr. Alex Carrel decades ago. Within recent times, his professional colleagues have begun to agree. When you change those negative beliefs and emotions, you change the body which houses them in its cells. Dr. Phineas P. Quimby proved these ideas in the 1800s, effecting thousands of cures in his New England neighbors. Because of his success, he became known as the founder of mental and spiritual healing in America, and a number of people who studied his theories formed healing movements of their own, through which countless thousands have been helped. Quimby is one of the people that we study in our teaching, the science of mind. So I want you to think about that, about how those negative feelings, envy, hate, and fear, when they're habitual, it changes the makeup of our cells in our body, and that's what causes disease. I always like to think about it as our little healthy, those divine intelligent cells are going through our body, doing their work because the subconscious mind is directing them, and all of a sudden we get anger. And what is anger? Anger is energy that's moving through our body and out into the universe. And those little cells are happy, and then all of a sudden they get zapped with this anger. And what happens? It's like if you get shocked or you hit something, you move and you get hit enough, you get zapped enough, it's going to change the makeup of that cell. It's going to change the form of that cell. And that's how disease starts and progresses, and then it affects the others. So she's really wanting us to look at what are our thoughts? How are we showing up every day in the world, in our life? So she goes on to talk about this. The next section is called Mind Power in Every Cell. The shocking truth is that the mind isn't located only in the brain, as most of us have been led to believe. The mind is found in every cell of your body. When you pinch your arm, it is the brain cells within your flesh that feel the pressure and respond, ouch. Similar ideas gather themselves together and become thought centers. These centers settle in various parts of the body, affecting the body according to their positive or negative nature. Every cell is enveloped in thought. As Edison discovered, Every cell thinks. Scientists state it more technically by saying that every cell is filled with life, light, intelligence, and substance, which form an atomic structure. Charles Fillmore, a Kansas City realtor who is also somebody we have studied, discovered the dynamic power that thought has on the body at the turn of the century. He used it to heal himself of painful tuberculosis of the hip, from which he had suffered since childhood. In his book, Atom Smashing Power of Mind, he not only describes this healing, but explains the power that thought has on the body, explaining that states of mind established in consciousness gather to themselves vitamins, cells, nerves, muscles, and flesh itself. He felt that in the mind, man can generate every medicine that is necessary for the upbuilding and restoring of the body. He stated that you can literally rebuild your body cell by cell by rebuilding your thinking. By renewal of your mind, your body can be transformed, since your body is the visible record of your thought. As a man thinks in his mind, so is he in his body. Divine person, I'm happy to know that you're working on your physical body and that we will be doing the Zoom next week. And you know what? Like I said, even if you are in good health, don't you want to feed your cells, every cell in your body with the optimum of health, the optimum of functionality? So think about it. We think that we are gods, but recognize that every cell in your body has an intelligence and is affected by its environment, just as we are. Just as we are. What are we focusing on? The only difference with our cells is that we are the one that are affecting them and causing them to deform or mutate because of the intelligence that we are putting on them. All right. So this is so quantum physics, truly, but in a very, to me, an easy way of understanding the power of our thoughts and how it affects our body and our environment. And don't feel that you are also at the whim of your disease. And so you really need to claim your power. And what we do teach, and what she's saying here, we believe in the power of a prayer and a pill. I take my vitamins. I want to nourish my cells as best as I can. I do what I can to nourish them and to support them. Just as we want to be supported, we want to be good creators, loving creators for the cells in our body. So she goes on. The next section is the body is not solid. This is really important. If the body were a solid mass of flesh and bone, it might be difficult to believe that the mind has this much power over it. But there is nothing solid in the body. It is about 80% water. Though we often think of the bones as a hard mass, in reality, they are filled with a fluid substance and are soft, pliable, and porous. The reason for this is that they are penetrated by the capillaries of the blood as the blood corpuscles are formed within the bones. If that which appears solid in the body were condensed into actual solids, your body would not be as big as a fly speck. Okay, that's pretty hard to imagine, isn't it? Wow. Because of its fluid content, thoughts move easily in and through the body to reshape it, to build it up, or tear it down, according to the nature of man's thinking. The strongest thing in your body is your thinking. She's got this italicized exclamation point. The body is soft, pliable, and even plastic to your thoughts. Okay. So why negative thinkers may be healthy? Okay, this is interesting. If the body is so strongly affected by one's thoughts, why is it that some negative thinkers still seem to enjoy good health? Um, the reason is this: the body is much slower in recording thoughts of evil than those of good. Interesting, since its true office is to produce life and health. In fact, one healthy thought persistently expressed can nullify 1,000 unhealthy thoughts. Think about that. Think about that. That is powerful. That one healthy thought persistently expressed, that's why affirmations are so powerful, can nullify 1,000 unhealthy thoughts. So please, please, please focus on positive. Focus on the good things in your life. All right. So she goes on, since its superpower is biased toward health instead of toward illness, the body tries and often is able to throw off man's negative thinking for a long time. It is the habitual wrong thoughts, deep hates, secret resentments, and strong prejudices that play such havoc with this health. Invariably, those people who persist in such negative emotions suffer a diseased result in mind, body, or affairs, whether you are aware of their distress or not. It is the negative emotions of long standing that must be cleared out of the conscious and subconscious levels of the mind in order to relieve serious health problems. Just as man did not acquire these negative concepts overnight, he often is not able to release them overnight. And he should not be impatient as he works to clear them up. So, when you go to a practitioner, they're not working with your disease. They're not working with that. What we work with is what is in your subconscious mind. What are some deep-seated beliefs that you have that maybe you aren't aware of, but they're showing up on the outside world? That's how you know that you have work to do. All right. So moving on, how to release healing power. People constantly prove that the body is pliable and plastic to their thinking in both positive and negative ways. A civil service employee worked in an office where everyone was suffering from colds and flu. Instead of entertaining this possibility for herself, this employee began affirming, I am letting divine intelligence express perfection through me now. Oh, I got to mark that one. That's a good one. I like that affirmation. I am letting divine intelligence express perfection through me now. These words recognized and released the super intelligence within her body, and she remained healthy. Okay, that's a really good one. I'm going to repeat it because you might want this one. I am letting divine intelligence express perfection through me now. All right. Remember, when you say that, that is a command on the universe, on that divine intelligence within you to go into action in this way. Going on, she says, a businessman attended a lecture in an air-conditioned ballroom. Sitting near him was a lady who kept complaining that the room was too cool and that she would get a sore throat. As she fed the intelligence within her body this idea, it responded by producing a scratchy throat for her before the hour had passed. See, you can use it for good or you can use it to hurt yourself. The businessman would not accept this idea, though in the past he had often suffered the same symptoms under similar conditions. Having learned that he could release healing power through his thoughts, he began silently decreeing, I am divine intelligence. Every part of my body is filled with divine intelligence. I am whole, well, harmonious through and through. He remained well. Okay, I'm going to repeat that one again because I think that's pretty powerful. I am divine intelligence. Every part of my body is filled with divine intelligence. I am whole, well, harmonious through and through. Okay? Do you understand? Again, when you say this, you are directing the law, that divine intelligence that is in your subconscious, in every cell of your body. You are making a command on it. Oh, I'm so happy, Confident Citizen, that this is so helpful for you. Please get this book and join me next week when we Zoom. Okay, going on. She says, your body as fluid substance, which we already discussed, is filled with mind power. This fluid substance feels your thoughts. When you entertain uplifted thoughts, it sometimes surprises you how fast your body responds with good health. A school teacher in England read my book, The Prosperity Secrets of the Ages, and from it learned that the body is composed of radiant substance. This idea fascinated her. She had long suffered from cracked fingernails, presumably the result of the chalk she used daily in her classroom. Boy, that's really old, isn't it? For which she had found no remedy. As she meditated often upon the idea that her fingernails were radiant substance, they immediately improved and soon were normal again. Okay? Do not deprecate your body. All right. There are those who ignorantly say that the body is evil and unimportant, a mere shadow of the real person which houses it. Like the Apostle Paul, realize that your body is the temple of the living God and that you should glorify God in it as radiant health. Okay, so I really want you to realize that your body is that temple of your divine consciousness. That power that you have is encased in this body that is truly every cell. My hair, that's the divine intelligence. Every cell in that hair is doing what it's supposed to do. Everything that we have, there is a divine intelligence, and we should not take that for granted, and we should never deprecate. We should always uplift and praise. All right. So she goes on. She says, healing is God's will. Perhaps you've heard people self-righteously say, I guess it's God's will for me to be sick, so I must endure this pain. Okay, that's just not true. And she says, what a neurotic God such people are worshiping. A God made in that limited image and likeness. I always equate those kind of comments that people make that's God's will. I always think of myself as a parent. Would I ever wish something negative on my children, to be sick or to suffer or to go with lack? Absolutely not. I want my children to thrive, and I'll do what I can to help them. And so that's what's going on with you in your life. This divine intelligence, that is you, that you are an expression of, wants whatever you want. If you're saying you believe you should be sick or you deserve to be sick, then the universe is saying, well, I don't want you not to be happy. I want to fulfill your wish. And that's what happens. Okay? So she goes on to say, if these people truly believed it was God's will for them to suffer, they would never go to a doctor or take any other constructive action toward healing. Though such people usually consider themselves good Christians, they consistently overlook the fact that God sent his son to perform most of the biblical miracles for restoring the sick. If God considered illness a blessing, his followers, which include modern day Christians, he that believeth in me, the works that I shall do, he do also, and greater works than these shall he do, which is John 14:12. God does not send suffering to purify you for a future life in heaven. This part is italicized. You do not have to go through hell here to get to heaven hereafter. The word heaven means harmony. And when you get into harmony with yourself, your fellow men and women, and your creator, you are well on the way to manifesting a heavenly state of health here and now, thus fulfilling the prophet John's promise. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. Matthew 3:12. So think about that. I often sometimes think that this, where we are right now, the life that we're living is heaven or hell. And we are creating that heaven or that hell. That is the power that we have. And I think we came here to wake up to that fact that we have this power and to remind each other of how magnificent they are, not to denigrate each other, not to put each other down, not to condemn each other, but to always look for the good and the beauty in each other. That's where the power comes from. So we're going on now, and she talks about the next section of chapter 1 is how religion relates to health. Okay, now you have to understand, I have not read this book. I am reading this book with you for the first time. And so I don't know what's going to be said here. All right. So I don't want people to think we're beating up on Christians, but this is what she's writing, okay? A supposedly good Christian, air quotes, was asked to attend a 10-day spiritual retreat. Hesitantly, she accepted the invitation. As she was packing for the trip, her husband said, "Honey, try to enjoy yourself. Try to have a good time." And she responded, "At a spiritual retreat?" While bracing herself for the experience, she prayed that she would be able to stand spiritual things for 10 days. However, she had such a good time at the retreat that she has been attending them regularly ever since and enjoying them thoroughly. Many people are like this lady. They have a false idea of what it is like to be a good Christian because they have a false idea of the true nature of God whom they worship. They consider God as having a split personality of good and evil. They consider him a distant entity who punishes them severely, perhaps through ill health for their every misdeed. I was brought up that way. That's how I used to think. Well, that's what I was taught. Never quite bought into it. All right. The misguided negative beliefs about their creator set up a chain reaction of negative thinking about themselves and the world about them. Their attitudes take on this negation in the form of self-righteousness, piety, condemnation, and resentment of all who do not conform to their beliefs. These negative attitudes are the reason why so many good Christians suffer illness and then blame their diseased conditions on God rather than on their own diseased thinking. I'm not going to say anything to that. I'm just reading it, okay? In reality, the so-called righteous are often afflicted with ill health because they see more faults in mankind than any other class of people. As for their pious fault finding, according to the noted Viennese psychologist, Alfred Adler, piety is an unhealthy form of neurosis rather than a healthy form of religion. Having encountered many pious, unhealthy neurotics in this work, one theologian has knowingly spoken of the odor of piety. Still another theologian has bluntly said, saints are all right in heaven, but they are hell on earth. That's pretty clever. And yeah, one of the things I want to tell you about what we teach at Spiritual Center, Palm Desert, and our other spiritual centers and Global Truth Center is that we honor all faiths. And, we have pious people in our teaching as well. And all teachings have that. And whatever resonates with you, believe it. But we don't really judge people for the way they honor, what religion they're on. We honor that. If that works for you, then bless you. Live the best life you can. But recognize, what we're hoping is that you recognize a loving God, and that you honor and allow other people to know that there are several paths to God, to this divine intelligence. And what works in a positive way, then we bless it. And do not judge other people for the choices they make. Focus on your life and living the best life you can, and being the best person you can be, the loving, giving, compassionate person. That's what we came here for. So this is interesting. She goes on to say, and I didn't know this, that the word religion literally means to bind, B-I-N-D, back, or to relink you to your source. Wow. Your religion is for the purpose of binding you back to God and His goodness. Since God is a loving Father who wills only supreme good for you, then to be bound back to Him is to be bound back to life, health, vitality, and to nothing less. God is a God of health. What is not well with you cannot possibly be the will of God. This is really important that you get this, that what is not well with you cannot possibly be the will of God. And that doesn't only relate to your physical health. That goes for your emotional, your financial, the abundance that you have in your life. And so, you were not meant to be here to suffer. None of us were. We came here to thrive and to experience and choose in each moment who we are in relation, binding back to that infinite wisdom, that God. So she goes on, the next section of this is, God has nothing to do with it. A famous actress showed a gift of expensive jewelry to a friend who exclaimed, "My goodness," quipped the actress, "goodness had nothing to do with it." Goodness has nothing to do with your ill health either. Any evidence of disease in your body is an evidence of unholiness in mind, wrong thinking. You will never be sick because of your goodness. Disease is just the opposite, a lack of ease, a lack of goodness. Wow. Foolish beliefs about illness. People have long attributed ill health to everything but its true cause, their own wrong thoughts and feelings. In 1720, the Black Death plague hit Europe. The Spanish clergy said it was a result of opera attendance. The English bishops blamed it on theater going. Other clergymen said it was caused by the fashionable long-pointed shoes the people wore, which irritated God. Still, others claimed the plague was a result of corruption in politics. Ridiculous, you say. Yet, in this enlightened age, we still entertain beliefs that are just as foolish and just as harmful to our health. There are a number of erroneous religious beliefs about God and man that cause sickness. Indeed, religious beliefs have a very vital or a very devitalizing effect upon the mind and body. If you believe you are a worm of the dust, you can hardly claim your spiritual heritage of health. A belief in Satan often makes people ill. A belief in the end of the world by fire and brimstone makes others sick. A doctor once told me he always had his largest number of patients when a nearby church held revival meetings. A patient appeared one morning complaining of intense pain. Upon examining her, he found no physical cause for her suffering. Close questioning revealed that the pain had begun the night before while she was attending a revival meeting at the nearby church. As the minister had described at length his belief in the hell and brimstone future that awaited all who did not come forth to be saved at the conclusion of the service, this lady became aware of pain in her body, which remained with her throughout the night and into the following day. Her doctors suggested she revise her idea about God, dwelling more upon his goodness if she wanted to avail herself of a pain-free existence. Revivals are needed, but only those which revive the ideas of God's goodness and its vitality to man, woman. I trust that as you read this book, you will find yourself attending such a revival. Okay? So, going on. Now, isn't that interesting, though? You know, if you are told and you believe in this power that is saying that, you know, that there's a Satan and that that world is going to end by fire and brimstone. And I mean, that to me shows an angry God. And if you're believing that, I can see where that would affect your body. Health and salvation are the same, is the next section. The Hebrew and Greek words translated salvation and health in the Bible, the Hebrew and Greek words translated salvation and health in the Bible are often the same. Health comes from freeing the mind of it. Permanent health comes from freeing the mind of its beliefs in ignorance and sin rather than adding to that. Right thinking is the greatest form of salvation, and it leads to good health. You know, that's what I always say, and that's what we say at Centers for Spiritual Living, Global Truth Center, is that, you know, Dr. Tom used to say, it's your stinking thinking. You got to change your stinking thinking. And that right thinking changes everything. All right. That's what we want to focus on. You know, what we teach is we don't teach you what to think at our center. We teach you how to think. How do you think? How do you use your mind in a positive, powerful way? That's what you get here. That's what you get on all our shows at 10 o'clock and our Sunday services. We're teaching you how to use that mind that this divine intelligence gave you, that is you, how to use it to create a wonderful life and a wonderful world. So it goes on to say that Plato told the Greek physicians of this time that the cause of their failure to heal lay in their ignorance of the needs of the soul. If Plato were alive today, he would probably make the same statement to those members of the clergy who try to frighten rather than inspire their followers into the kingdom. That's what we want to do. We want to inspire you. We want to remind you of who you truly are. Actually, the kingdom of heaven begins as a state of mind here and now, a heavenly state of mind. When you save yourself from negative thinking, you not only save your soul from disease, but also your body, which houses the soul. I mean, that is so powerful. Okay, how much am I going to get to finish? I'm not going to finish this chapter, but we'll go on to a few more sections. The difference between curing and healing. This is important. I haven't read it, but I know that that's important. Although man is only about 2% physical and 98% mental and spiritual, the average person spends about 98% of his time thinking about the 2% of his physical nature. Ouch. That's true. That is why he often suffers ill health. He is trying to attain good health from without in, okay, rather than from within out. Plato told the Greek physicians, the part can never be well unless the whole is well. There is a difference between healing and curing a person, as Plato realized from the above statement. To heal is to make whole the entire man, spirit, soul, and body. To cure means to eliminate or relieve immediate distress. A person is often cured of pain by seeking medical treatment, but unless he changes his negative thought patterns that cause the pain, it may appear again and again, either in the same area or in another area of the body. That's really powerful. Okay, you might get a pill that will relieve or cure it, but it will be temporary if you don't change your beliefs. You don't change those thoughts, those negative thoughts that are in your subconscious. Psychologists have found that most disease is self-inflicted. Wow. And consciously, we wouldn't do that, right? We wouldn't think, oh, gee, I want to get cancer. Or, oh, gee, I want to have pain or arthritis or whatever. Consciously, no, we don't do that. So anyway, he goes on. So psychologists have found that most disease is self-inflicted. A sense of guilt finds atonement in illness. When the mind does not get relief from guilt, it releases the guilt into the body as disease. Whoa. Disease in the body is actually the body's attempt to throw off ill feelings. When you feel ill, it is because your ill feelings are trying to get away from you. Thus, it is worth the time and effort involved to change your thought patterns, freeing them of guilt in order to effect a complete healing, rather than experiencing only a temporary cure, which technical treatment alone may bring. Okay, so I'm sure in this book, we're going to get to how are we going to change those beliefs? How are we going to heal those beliefs that are within us, not which then will heal and be more powerful to work in conjunction, in tandem with medicine. All right, why many people are confused. This is the last section I'm going to read. So, for 300 years after Jesus Christ, there were great works of healing performed among his followers. Then slowly the ministry of healing ceased as the church became more prosperous and worldly. Okay, it had become a sign of spiritual power to be able to heal. And some people not high in the church could heal better than those who were. This aroused jealousy. The ministry of healing was then forbidden, first among high church officials, then among laymen. As spiritual healing subsided, the practice of healing through medicine became popular with the masses, since it did not demand the faith required by spiritual healing. That's interesting. I didn't even know that. Later, antagonism arose between the church and the medical profession. In 529 AD, the Emperor Justinian closed the medical schools of Athens and Alexandria as a gesture of churchly disapproval. This disapproval of physicians on the part of the church continued for many centuries, though here and there in monasteries, medical manuscripts were copied. In 1215, Pope Innocent III condemned surgery and all who practiced it. In 1428, the dissection of the body was pronounced sacrilegious, and the study of the anatomy was condemned. It is a little wonder that many people have been so confused in their religious beliefs concerning the church's stand on healing since. For many centuries, the church waged a feud with the medical profession, as well as within its own gates, even to the extent of forbidding spiritual healing. The Swiss psychologist Dr. Carl Jung has said, healing may be called a religious problem. In these times, more and more thinking people agree with him and are returning to a practice of first century Christianity, which was filled with healing power and which promised healing power to all true believers. And that's what we want you to be. We want you to be true believers of the power that is yours. So that's where we're going to be picking up next week. And if you got the book, we'll be picking up on page 21, or if you have Kindle, it's in chapter 1, and it's the ancient Hebrews knew the secret. So that's where we're going to be going. So I really, really want you next week for us to do this via Zoom. I want you to participate. I won't be doing all the reading. You will be doing the reading with me. We will stop. We will talk about it. We'll talk about the implications, what that means to you, how you relate to that, and just the power of who you are. Please know that. So this week, what I want you to do, your homework this week, if you so choose, is to look at the good in your life. One of my most powerful things, the energy is, I think, is being in a state of gratitude. And even if you have a disease, be grateful for it, because it's showing you that there's some place there, that there's something that you need to release that will make you even more dynamic, more amazing, and that you're going to do the work. You're going to bless it. You're going to bless every cell in your body. Start doing some affirmations. Stay focused on the good and turn away from the negative. Thank you, Mr. Flynn. Always love having you here. So please join me next week. And don't forget to visit, there's right there, cslpalmdesert.org, donate, or you can contact, or you can hit the PayPal button there. Please continue to support this. Remember, part of being healthy is to give. When we hoard things, when we hoard our money out of fear, then we're cutting off our supply. And we don't want that. We want to know that we are abundant. We are the creators of our prosperity. And so we give where we get our good. And so please, I know you're getting good from Center for Spiritual Living. And please support this. And I'm so looking forward to seeing many faces next week and sharing this book, sharing these ideas with you. All right. So blessings to you. Have a magnificent week filled with joy, opulence, divine love, and grace. And so it is.